Guitar tips, just the tips, just for you. Guitar tips. Hello and welcome to Guitar Tips. My name is Adam Levy. Guitar Tips is my weekly video blog series, and I post a brand new tip here each and every Friday. Friday is New Tips Day. If you want to stay super up to date on the new tips as they post, the best way to do that is to subscribe. There's a little red button down there. You click on that, and that will loop you in so that each and every Friday when the new tip is posted, you'll get an email and you can check it out. The past 7 weeks I did a series on the melodic minor scale and its various modes. And if you're curious about that, you can go back and check it out. Actually, there's a whole bunch of tips in the rearview mirror. Lots of stuff. I hope that you will check it out and enjoy it. And if you have any questions about anything, you can always post your question in the comments section down below, and I do my best to reply. Okay, so this week's tip, as many tips are inspired by real conversations, this week's tip is also inspired by real conversations I've had with many students who ask me, how do you play in a trio? How do you play the guitar in a trio setting, which usually means guitar, bass, and drums. So this week's guitar tip then is how to play in a trio. Guitar tip, how to play in a trio. Now, of course, there's all different kinds of music in the world, but I'm going to focus this particular tip assuming that you're playing in a jazz trio, meaning some improvisation, some interplay between the three musicians, maybe playing some songs from the jazz repertoire or playing some original music that you would describe as jazz. It's not to say that you can't apply what I'm going to say here to other types of music, but I thought I would talk about jazz trio playing because, well, for one thing, I've done a fair bit of it and have some perspective on it, and it seems like most of the feedback that I get in comments and just a little bit today. Anyway, it seems like most of the questions and comments that people have pertain to jazz. I don't know if that means that most of you are jazzers or just that those of you who are prone to asking questions are the jazzy ones. But anyway, here we go. So the first thing I would say about how to play in a trio is play in a trio. Get together with some friends or book a gig or a rehearsal or a jam or what have you, and actually do it. You will learn so much by just doing it, and if you're curious about how to play in a trio and you never have, here's your chance to do it, and then record whatever it is that you do, the jam, rehearsal, gig, whatever, and let it sit for maybe 5, 6, 7 days, and then go back and listen to it and get out your notebook and take some notes. What's working? What's not working? That's going to tell you so much more than I can do just, in this, one-way street that is YouTube. I'll offer everything that I can, but you're going to learn so much just by doing it and recording and listening and giving yourself some honest feedback. And you can also, share the recording with a teacher or a trusted friend, or maybe even the two people you got together with in the first place, and just try and get as much honest feedback as you can. If you want to just keep it to yourself, that's fine. If you want to open it up, that's cool too. But do play in a trio. Likewise, you'll want to listen to other guitar trios. There are many great guitar trio records, which at the end of this tip I'm going to list some of my favorites. But suffice to say, people have been playing guitar trio style for a long time. You're not, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It'd be good to check out some other well-established wheels. And you can also listen to other kinds of trios, piano trios, sax trios. There's so many great jazz records where it's just three people. Work on your sound. Your sound should be deserving of people's attention. If you're going to be the main thing, which you are in a trio, just by default, you're going to be in charge of melody and harmony and rhythm. There's so much that you're going to be doing in a guitar trio, and if your sound isn't really happening, then your trio is not going to be really happening. There's no getting around that. It's hard for me to say in a tip what would make your sound better, but go back to where we started, which is record yourself, listen to yourself, evaluate, make notes, move forward. Don't fear the open spaces. In a guitar trio setting, I guess one way to play would just be to just fill up every space and just play all the time. I don't play that way, and I wouldn't really recommend that you play that way. That's going to be taxing on people's ears and people's imagination. You just want to, space is good. I find it actually helps draw people in when you leave some space. So don't be afraid to do that. One thing on a more kind of technical level, because I know I've been talking just conceptually here, but one thing you might want to do is practice rootless voicings. So let's say a song happens and the chord is G major 7 and you've got D in the melody. You could certainly play this, as we often do. That's a pretty standard major 7 voicing. But you might want to try something different, like just playing the upper part. The bass player is going to catch that. This is really all you need. You could even try just a 2-note version, or a version that has that note and some color tone, like the 9 or the 6. Or here's 7 and 9 and the melody. So I'm playing what looks like a D triad, but remember that our bassist is going to play G. So that's a nice voicing of G major 7 that doesn't have a G in it. So take a tune that you like to play and work on it, playing rootless voicings. And that just gives your trio a more open sound. If your bass player is playing that note, you really don't need to play it. So think about all the other ways that you could do it. Oh, excuse me. Open strings can be really cool in a trio setting because they can fill up some harmonic space. And so these could be, let's see, how can I want to get away from that root, even playing the root. So if we're on, I'll stay in G major 7. So I'll use B as the open string and we can play. All that stuff could be nice, and you could let it ring as you improvise. So it sort of becomes like Neil Young playing jazz or something. But I use that a lot. Open strings, and they're available in lots of keys. It doesn't necessarily have to be the root or the third. It could be an extended note, color tone. Anyway, open strings are a thing. You could, another thought about playing in a trio is you don't have to play jazz standards even if you have a jazz trio. You could write music that suits you, something that it takes advantage of the format that you're in. And I'll get to some people who do that at the end when I list a bunch of records I like. Dynamics are a thing. So one way that people can play in a trio that's nice is to kind of have the guitar play two roles and alternate back and forth between playing melodic stuff and comping. So that's something that takes practice. I don't know what to say except practice it, but you could say take a B flat blues and start by doing something simple like solo for 2 bars, comp for 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you do that, try and play better than me. That's one thing. And, you could exaggerate it by playing the melodic stuff a little louder and the comping stuff a little quieter. 2, 3, 4. You get what I mean. And then when you're comfortable with that, you could try different formulas like solo for 4 bars, comp for 4 bars, solo for 1 bar, comp for 1 bar. And it doesn't have to be symmetrical. It could be solo for 1 bar, comp for 3, solo for 1, comp for 3, or anything like that. And once you get the hang of doing it through a real formulaic approach, you could then play free and don't pre-plan the bars, but just really try and have a conversation with yourself and see how musical you can make it. Another thing is just you can choose good guitar-friendly keys. That's nice in a trio, so that you make the most of the guitar, so that you're playing in a nice register for whatever tune you're playing. You don't get caught if you just open up the real book. If you play the melody as written, it could be down low or it could be way high, and maybe you want to find a more kind of meaty zone to play the melody in. It's totally fine to change the key. There's no reason you have to play stuff in the same key as the real book says. This can also help you make the arrangement your own. If it's a tune like Body and Soul, pretty much everybody plays Body and Soul in the real book key, which is D flat. There's 11 other keys that you could try it in, and that'll set your arrangement or your recording or performance apart from what people have done. Let's see. Oh, and then the last thing I was going to say is play in a trio. I know that was the first thing I said, but I'll say it again. If you want to learn how to play in a trio, play in a trio. Record yourself, listen, evaluate, move forward, onward, upward. Okay, now I'm just going to list some records. I'll include them in the comments section down below, or excuse me, the description down below as well. I hope you can find them in your favorite record store, or on Spotify, or Apple Music, or wherever you find music. Anyway, here's a dozen guitar trio records that I like. The Jimmy Giuffre 3. Jimmy Giuffre played saxophone and clarinet. His record, the Jimmy Giuffre 3, has Jim Hall on guitar. It's a little different than the stuff I've been talking about here, where it's guitar, bass, and drums. There's no drums on this record. It's just woodwinds, guitar, and bass. But it's really beautiful, and Jim Hall's playing is super inventive. Great record. Kenny Burrell, A Night at the Vanguard. So swinging. It's just the jazziest. You need this record. Kenny Burrell, A Night at the Vanguard, 1959. 1968 record, Lenny Breau, guitar sounds from Lenny Breau. He was a guy who really could make the guitar sound like two people or three people. Incredible right-hand technique, incredible harmonic sensibility. Lenny Breau is a real honest-to-goodness guitar hero, and this is a nice record. Guitar sounds from Lenny Breau. Joe Pass, Intercontinental. Joe Pass is mostly, I think, known as a solo guitarist or as an accompanist for Ella Fitzgerald, or lots of records around like that. But I love his trio playing. Intercontinental, 1970, really strong record, swinging. Jim Hall Trio, live, exclamation point, live. 1975, totally incredible record, moving in a slightly more modern direction than Joe Pass. Angel Eyes is a standout track on that record. John Scofield, Shinola, 1980. Really nasty electric guitar tone. I think he used to play through a rat pedal. I think that's what's going on there. Original music written for his trio with electric bass and drums. Really bold electric guitar sound. Not trying to sound like a 50s jazz guitar, but really getting into just some nastiness. It's a great record, Shinola. Paul Motion Trio, One Time Out, 1989, with Bill Frisell on guitar. Again, a non-traditional trio here. There's no bass, so it's just guitar, saxophone, and drums. Some original tunes, some standards. Paul Motion Trio with Bill Frisell and Joe Lovano on saxophone, One Time Out. Incredible record, really brilliant. Frisell, his thing is different, especially back then. He was using effects, and the guitar it's more like soundscape than, playing a lot of bebop lines or whatever, but that's something you can do, and I'd really recommend that record a lot. Pat Metheny, more in the bebop zone. Pat Metheny, Question and Answer with Roy Haynes and Dave Holland. Just great lines, incredible kind of I would say bebop oriented. Maybe there's a better word for what that style is, but good Lord, some very fast tempos. His version of Solar on that record is just mind-boggling. It's so fast and yet so clear and lucid. It's great. That's from 1989. 1992, Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson put out a record called Right Brain Patrol with Ben Monder on guitar. Again, slightly non-traditional. There's instead of a regular drum set on there, there's a percussionist, Arto Tunçaboyazan. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I think he's Turkish or Turkish American. Anyway, that's an incredible record. Again, it features original tunes. So Mark and I think Ben Monder, I think everybody on that record is a writer. That's an example of writing music that's specific to the trio setting and specific to the people. I think that record's out of print. It's hard to find, but if you can get it, that record in 1992 is one of the things that really made me want to write original music and find a different sound beyond playing standards. And Ben Monder is just one of the greatest guitar players who's ever lived. If you haven't heard him, you should check him out. Jim Campolongo Trio, American Hips, 2003. Jim Campolongo is a really great example of, again, somebody who's writing for writing new music for the trio format. So really great guitar sound, Telecaster into some blackface Fender amp cranked up. These days he uses a Princeton. I think that might be a Princeton on that record, but I know back in the earlier days Jim would play a Vibrolux cranked up, and it just sounded incredible. But that's one thing about playing in a trio, is if you have a big sound, and I don't mean big like taking up all the frequencies, but just in whatever frequency range you're in, it should be rich and complex and exciting. And Jim is all of those things, and he really writes music that is perfect for that setting. Jacob Bro, again, I'm probably saying it wrong. I think it may be more like Jakob Bro or something. Anyway, he's Danish. He made a record in 2008 called Who Said Gay Paris? Mostly jazz standards, kind of a traditional approach, but just his sound is so great, and there's something modern about it, even though he's playing kind of old-fashioned tunes. The way that he plays melodies and comps for himself, and sometimes just uses like, simple low-down chords, and then plays up high, and then plays low-down chords, just triads sometimes. It's really fantastic. I love that record, Who Said Gay Paris by Jakob Bro. And then finally, Julian Lage, he put out a record this year being 2016, called Arclight. If you don't know Julian Lage, you should really check him out. He's one of the most tremendous guitar players alive today. He put out 2 great records this year, actually. He put out a solo acoustic record called World's Fair, and an electric trio record where he plays Telecaster and there's upright bass and drums, and it's called Arclight. Kind of a mixture of original music and older music. Great use of space, great variety of, basically one guitar sound, which is a Telecaster into an old tweed Fender Champ. But he gets so much mileage out of this one sound, so that's inspiring. Anyway, this is maybe the longest tip I've ever posted. I'm sure most folks have tuned out long ago. But if you're still watching, thank you for watching all the way till the end. Guitar Tips is sponsored by Martin Guitar Strings, so thank you to Martin Guitar Strings. If you want to support Guitar Tips, you can always buy some stuff. There's a bunch of stuff listed down below. There's t-shirts for sale. I've got some instructional courses on Alfred and TrueFire. I've got music for sale on Bandcamp, and of course I appreciate anything that you have interest in. And you can join my mailing list. Go to adamlevy.com and you can sign up for the mailing list there. You can also find out where I'm playing. I have some San Francisco shows coming up and some Los Angeles shows. I'll be going to Japan in 2017 to play some shows. Okay. How to play in a trio. Guitar tip. How to play in a trio. Got it? Hope you got it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Adam Levy. Guitar Tips. Stay tuned. Take good care.